New Thought Media Network and the Universal Joy Center are proud to bring you The Joy Show. One voice, one story, infinite inspiration. Join your host, Barbara Jean, every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time or 1 p.m. Mountain Time. Tune in live or watch anytime on youtube.com/@UJOYC. The Joy Show with Barbara Jean. The perfect way to get inspired on Friday afternoons. Only on New Thought Media Network. And please like, share, and subscribe. And now, let's join Barbara Jean on The Joy Show.
Good afternoon and welcome to The Joy Show here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Barbara Jean, your host, and I am so delighted that you're here with me today. And my guest today, you're in for a treat. Well, let us begin with the land acknowledgement. We're honored to be meeting on this land that many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people from across Turtle Island call home. We acknowledge and thank the original caretakers and knowledge keepers of this territory. We also give thanks to all other Indigenous peoples, recorded and unrecorded, who have shared responsibility for this land. Recognizing our ultimate oneness and acknowledging our reality, both past and present, we commit to moving forward in a spirit of mutual cooperation. We are one. Well, so excited you're with me today. My guest is the Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski, and he currently serves as the spiritual and creative director of the New Thought Media Network, right where we are. He is also a dedicated leader with the wider New Thought movement, holding positions on the board of directors for the affiliated New Thought Network, the executive board of the International New Thought Alliance, and the board of regents for Emerson Theological Institute. With a deep passion for exploring the evolving landscape of spiritual community, Dr. Robert views virtual ministry as a powerful form of spiritual activism. He is committed to serving those who are ready to create lives rooted in intention, purpose, and possibility. As a dynamic spiritual leader, engaging speaker, and dedicated teacher, he brings clarity, compassion, and boldness to everything he does. In his work as a personal coach, spiritual business consultant, and visionary thought leader, Dr. Robert continues to innovate fresh ways of sharing new thought principles in paradigm-shifting, accessible, and relevant ways. And you can learn more about Dr. Robert by going to RevBrz.com and explore the network at New Thought Media ntmedia.org or on YouTube at New Thought Media Network. Welcome, Robert. So glad you're here.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure when I get to be a guest on my own network.
Exactly. Well, I'm delighted you're here because this is kind of a pivotal time with the network, I think, where,
Yes.
We're starting to see some growth that, it sometimes takes a little while to get the engine running. And it seems to be running quite well at the moment. How are you seeing things when it comes to the network?
Everything's coming up roses, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we're just a little over 6 years old at this point. So we always count March 18th is what I consider our birthday.
Okay.
That's the day we did our first real live prayer broadcast under the moniker of New Thought Media Network. So
nice.
I had been kind of playing around, experimenting with some video, and had been doing little video clips for a few years, but nothing consistent. And then with the onset of the pandemic back in 2020, it was March 18th that we sat down and said, okay, this is the name, and we're going to do this twice a day, our daily prayer broadcast at 8:15 a.m. and p.m. It's still going over 6 years later. And
nice.
So we're just over 6 years and loving it. And lots of, as you said, change. And I think that's part of any ministry is you go through seasons where things that just don't serve any longer. Doesn't mean they're broken or wrong. It means they don't serve any longer, drift away or fall away. And and that creates space and space in the calendar, space in the schedule for something new to come along. And we're in that place where we have room for some new shows, and we've got some shows coming. Nothing I can talk about just yet, but room for others as well. So if somebody's out there watching and saying, "Well, I've always wanted to do a show," and now's the time to call. And
now's the time to call. All right. So go to ntmedia.org and get some information there, and you'll know how to hook up with Rev Briz to get it all together. Well, I'm so excited you're here. And I know that this network has been your joy, I guess, for the last 6 years, as well as, you know, sort of some heavy slogging along the way. But you've had some personal situations that also have added to this. And you're now 6 months. Do you want to talk about?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about smoke.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to come back to it because so the punchline or the end result is, yes, I am just at the 6-month mark of being completely free from marijuana, THC, pot, weed, whatever you want to call it, in my life. And I didn't reach this point with any major crash or rock bottom or any of those typical ways that people decide to get clean from an addiction. Now, I will say that, and for the first first few decades of my addiction, I wouldn't have called it that. And even up until near the end, I wouldn't have labeled my behaviors as an addiction. However, once I got clean, I was able to see where it truly was. And the pandemic was something that exacerbated that. Prior to that, you'd have to clean up and go out and do a talk live and put on some nice clothes. And as we all locked down, it became easier and easier to hide my usage from the people that I was connecting with and the people that I was leading in this organization. And it did get to a point where I intuitively sort of knew I was coming to the end of that chapter.
Right.
And I would drop the ball on something, or I'd be running into a program in the last moment because I was out in the garage, and nothing said, "Oh my gosh," there was no intervention. But I got to a point where I realized that I wanted to see what life was like without the smoke screen. And so I chose my birthday, December 20th of this past year. And interestingly enough, I have a couple of side gigs that I work. So I had a side gig. My birthday was on a Saturday. I had a side gig Friday night, got home from the side gig Friday night, lit up a couple of big fat joints and finished out my run, and woke up the next morning and just, that was that. And cleaned out the garage and cleaned out. Now I did know this was coming, so I also made sure I didn't have any stash left laying around, and so there was nothing to tempt me. But cleaned everything out, and have really, really, really watched not only my relationship with my family, but my relationship with this ministry and my ministry as a whole grow and flourish in the last 6 months.
It's amazing how when you get sort of away from a behavior, all of a sudden you start to see the fruits of your labor showing up in a way that they weren't before.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that's not to say there weren't a couple of meetings. There were a couple of meetings where I got done and I thought to myself, man, I could really use a smoke right now. And as we often find in this philosophy of New Thought, once you hear a higher calling, once you come to recognize a greater calling for who you are here to be, once you come to really see a deeper, more expanded truth, of the gift you're here to share, those temptations don't hold as much sway.
True. That's true.
And it's now actually become a joke, kind of a little joke within my family. We moved recently, and at the end of a very long day, my wife looked at me and she goes, "Anything I can do for you?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can run down the corner and grab me a joint, would you?" And she kind of looked at me, but the people that were with us recognized that he's joking, and I was joking. So now we can make it. It's something that is it brings a little bit of humor, but it's also something I can now talk about with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can
Yeah.
speak
It's hard
to
in the
it,
beginning to do that.
and I can speak to it from a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
That yeah, 6 months is not the rest of my life, but it's the first 6 months of the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I feel really good about it.
Good for you. Good for you. Because I think that's really important when we sense that there's something we're doing or something in our life that really is inhibiting our success or slowing down our progress, that we need to take a look. When we start missing appointments or showing up late for things, stuff like that, those are definitely signposts that I need to do something different.
Yes. I never quite realized how much I was truly lying to myself.
Yeah.
And whether it's marijuana or any other drug or any other addiction, sex, food, anything, we come to a point, I believe, where we find those justifications for why it's okay. And for me, it made me more creative. It made me more social. I've heard so many people say, yeah, for me, it always just put me to sleep. And it's like, yeah, for me, it just kept me going. So, I got late at night. I needed to put in a few more hours, go take a puff and
Away you
dive
go.
back in. But all of those justifications are not the truth.
Yeah, and that's important to acknowledge.
Yeah. The greater
Yeah.
truth is that we don't need any of that.
No, we don't.
As divine beings having a human experience, we already have within us everything that's necessary to support us along this journey.
Yes.
And again, any outside substance, I'm one that, hey, if you want to have a drink in moderation, if you want to have a puff in moderation, but
Yep.
when it becomes a part of your identity, when it becomes part of how you know yourself or how you believe of yourself, that's when addiction is getting in the way.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So that's an important point, that as we look at our lives, we have to look at an area that we're not managing well and we're finding excuses for. And when we see that it's causing us some grief, and we have a choice to make, and it is our choice.
Yeah.
Not an easy one sometimes, but our choice nonetheless. So when you had those moments of cravings in the first little while, how did you manage that?
Truthfully, ice cream. And that even in itself is a little bit of a joke. I have a pretty
I like that.
how do I want to say this? I have a pretty high opinion of myself. And I do believe that I'm here on this planet to do some big work in and around the New Thought movement. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so when those cravings would hit, when that frustration would hit, when I reminded myself what I'm really feeling here is I want to escape
Yes.
from the commitments I'm making.
Mm.
And I can't fulfill what I see as the big vision for my life. I can't fulfill the calling I hear if I'm escaping.
That's right.
And now, interestingly enough, along with all of this, My wife is about 2.5 years sober from alcohol. And when she chose to let go of alcohol in her life, I didn't. But I did make a commitment to her to not drink around the house.
Right.
So Friday night and pick up a case of beer to have around the house for the weekend and drink a few beers Friday night and a few more on Saturday and a few more on Saturday night. I let go of that as well.
Yeah.
I may still have a drink out in the world or at an event or an occasion, but I don't drink to escape any longer.
Right. Right.
And so that's for me how I was able to identify it was if my thought process is I am so over this, I need to do something. That's the escapism. And that's where I was able to say, no, wait a minute. You're never going to accomplish what you want to accomplish if you keep trying to run away.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And you have accomplished a lot. I mean, this network has, a radio station. It's got all of these incredible shows on it. And, it really is a great place for great information, positive, uplifting information. And it's not just here. You have spread out a little bit to become part of other New Thought organizations that actually enhance what we're doing also. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And to me, that is that work, that most important work.
Yeah.
I remember way back when I was first getting into all of this, and I think was just becoming a licensed practitioner. At some point, I wrote a personal vision mission type statement, and what it was all centered around serving spiritual leaders and organizations.
Okay. Yep.
A great friend of mine, Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, she says that her mission is to serve those who serve.
Sure. Yes, she's amazing.
And that's kind of encapsulated what I've always held, that I never really had it wasn't a definitive, this is what I'm going to do, or this is how it's going to look. But there was always been a sense of being in service to spiritual leaders and organizations, the people that are choosing to lead and the organizations that they serve upon. So, so as New Thought Media Network came into being, it felt like, hey, this is an idea whose time has come.
Yep.
And for the first year or so, we were still sort of in the lockdown, right? Nobody was going anywhere. And in September of 2021, I guess it must have been, I had this great idea. There, at the time, is a retreat known as the Big Sky Retreat.
Yes, I remember those. Yep.
They have since sunset that organization and it no longer meets. But that time, it was still meeting every year, Labor Day weekend up in Big Sky, Montana. And my wife and I had gone for a number of years when we were new in the movement. And I thought, I'm going to pack up my car. I'm going to take what little equipment I had compared to what I have now. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to go up to Big Sky and I'm going to do some interviews and I'm going to do what the few shows we had running. I'm going to do those from up there, from a live remote type experience. And it was there that I ran into a woman named PJ Stanley. She is on the board of the affiliated New Thought Network, Anton.
Okay. Yeah.
And so being in that energy of people and meeting new people, and Reverend PJ gave a presentation about Anton and their upcoming retreat. So I said, hey, I'm broke. And this is a new network. And is by any chance are there any scholarships available for your retreat? And well, wouldn't you know it, there was. And,
of course.
And Anton opened the doors to me, having no clue who I was, and got me to their retreat. And I had to
Nice.
cover, my expenses here, and I had to cover my room, and but they got me a room at the hotel, and when there was a waiting list, and they scholarshiped me into the retreat. And I sat in the back of that room that first year, and I listened to speaker after speaker, and I listened as people kept saying, "We're the folks that say yes."
Yeah.
And I really did. I thought to myself, yeah, well, you guys haven't met Robert Brzezinski yet. Because I'm pretty comfortable with people saying no. No, Robert, no, 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 no. And you're the people that say yes. And
Yeah.
they did. And that's where it really begins, because that's where I start to see a vision of how to give back to the movement and how to fulfill this sense of calling that I've had for so long. And
Yeah.
they said yes to some ideas that I had, and they said yes to sponsoring me to go to the Parliament of World Religions and create an ill-fated documentary of the 2023 Parliament of World Religions. And when it came around, and I approached a couple board members, and I said, I'm thinking of running for the board. And they immediately, yes, oh yes, you would be great. We'd love to have you. And I'm still in that point, because I'm still living behind the cloud, right, folks? I'm still living behind the smoke screen. And I'm thinking, yeah, but you guys don't really know me. You're saying yes to me, but you don't really know me. And I'm not really sure I'm going to show you who I really am.
Yeah.
And my first year and a half or so on the board was a little rough. But as I let go of the alcohol along with my wife, and as my body was already, and my psyche was already preparing to let go of the marijuana, life started to become a little easier, and the yes became a little more active.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, another friend said, "Hey, we see what you're doing over with Anton, and we see what you're doing in this media thing. We'd like to have you come serve on the INTA board,
Nice.
International New Thought Alliance." So I said yes to that. And we were joking before the show, right, that in this movement, you're kind of taught, you just say yes and then figure out the how later, or let God take care of the how.
Exactly.
So somebody said, "You want to be on the INTA board?" And I said, "Yes." And in the midst of all of this, then I was recommended someone, I didn't even know it was happening, but the Emerson Theological Institute was on the verge of closing its doors.
Okay.
And a number of people came together and said, "We can't let this happen." So a new board was being formed, and a friend was kind of being recruited to be on that board, and she said, "No, it's not for me, but I think you should go talk to Robert Brzezinski." I still have yet. Exactly, yeah. I still have yet to get her to tell me exactly why she recommended me, but I will someday. And so I said yes. And in the midst of this, I find myself in a very unique position to serve as an avenue, a conduit for these three major organizations, and to communicate together, to look at how we work together as one rather than individual organizations, to how we move this movement of New Thought forward, rather than playing in our own little silos and maybe occasionally bumping into each other. And I feel really, really blessed in all of that. And I really believe that it is that series of yes, yes, yes that made my sobriety, if you will, so much easier, because every time I say no to the addiction, there's a greater yes than I am able to say to the movement. And by the movement, I mean the people that show up looking for answers, the people that show up looking for avenues to be a greater leader, the people that are looking for advice on how to navigate a son-in-law who's addicted, or a friend that's just feeling lost in their own journey. My dear friend, Dr. Bill Marcioni, we joke that, we're always trying to get to yes. Sometimes you got to go through the no to get to the yes. And I've gotten I've recognized that every no is the seed of a sacred yes.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to wrap this up by saying, and that brings me joy.
Awesome. It's amazing how, as we settle into our life experience and welcome whatever's there is a sacredness to that. There's a sense of power, like an internal power, like, yes, I'm in the right place, I'm doing the right things, and I'm creating a remarkable life. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, on that note, we're going to take a little commercial break, because this is a perfect little break moment. And then we'll be back with more great information from the Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski. And you're watching New Thought Media Network. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
Well, you're watching The Joy Show here, and my guest today is the Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski, who is the founder and the creative director here at the New Thought Media Network. So, Robert, let's get you back here. So, we've been talking about your association with INTA and ANTN, and what sort of drew you into that bigger picture, where it's not just the Centers for Spiritual Living, but now you're looking at a broader possibility? What precipitated that? Do you know? Or
yes, and this isn't in any way to try to make any organization or group of people wrong.
Yeah,
but I feel like I had come to a point where I was running into the no a lot more than I was running into the yes.
Oh, okay.
So in 2015, my family and I moved from Colorado to Olympia, Washington, to pastor a Center for Spiritual Living there. And in our infinitely polite and politically correct way of saying it, that just wasn't a match.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a rather traumatic experience of recognizing that just wasn't a match.
Mm-hmm. It's sometimes the case.
And so in the summer of 2016, my wife and I did something very, very unique. We put her and the kids and the pets in our van, and they went on an extended 3-month road trip. So I don't think my kids realized we were part of the unhoused community at that point. Because we figured it out at one point. They slept in 12 different beds over a 3-month period.
That's amazing.
With various family members and friends, and I packed up all of our worldly belongings and brought them back here to Colorado, and put a 26-foot U-Haul truck into a 20-foot storage unit, and slept on the floor, the basement floor of a friend's house for a couple of weeks before we found a house here. And proceeded to put that 20-foot storage unit back in a 26-foot truck and bring it over and unload it again into this new house, and landed in Colorado. Came back to Colorado in 2016 with kind of being really burnt out on ministry, on the whole concept of ministry. Had started a church coming out of school, and that only lasted a few years. Had moved to be with a new community, and that lasted less than a year, and really had in many ways given up on ministry. And somewhere along the line decided to start driving for Uber and Lyft and start driving rideshare. And it was an okay gig. And I've always said that once you understand the principles of New Thought, no matter what's going on in your life, you can't hide from it.
No, you cannot.
You could stick your head in the sand and pretend that this stuff doesn't work. But even then, it's still working, and it
is. Yes, you can see the result.
And so driving Uber worked for a while. And along the way, somewhere around 2018, I was really, really, really tired of listening to commercial radio. And so when you spend 14 hours a day in your car, you're listening to a lot of commercial radio. And I'd always had this dream of a New Thought radio station. Now, I had seen a few people in my years make attempts at online radio, and they never seemed to go anywhere, and I could never figure out exactly why. But late one night, I was just really, really in my own stuff, and the idea of an internet radio station came to mind, and I jumped online and I found a company called Live 365. And I was aware of Live 365 years earlier, but they had gone out of business because of copyright law and all these things. Here they were re-emerging with a new idea. And,
that's exciting.
And a new way to make sure that artists are compensated.
Yes.
And that's where New Thought Radio starts. About 3 a.m, I'm uploading my vast collection of MP3s and CDs into this system. And now I'm driving and I have my own music in my ear. And it actually I lasted a whole nother year, almost 2 years in the job because of that. And that is also part of what reminded me it is all possible. So
it's important to remember that possibility exists.
So I fast forward a little bit, and January of 2020, I had called my longtime teacher and mentor, Reverend Donald Graves, and he and I still have a great relationship. And he said, "You know what? I'm tired of hearing you moan and groan and whine." And I make it sound nicer than he said it, but he goes, "I want you on a 30-day vision quest." And he knew of my love for the visioning process. He actually was the person who taught me the visioning process.
There you go.
And he said, "I want you on a 30-day vision quest. I want you every day for 30 days and you have to send me a picture of your visioning notes. And if you don't, I'm not taking your phone calls. A little bit of tough love.
Good for him.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
So for 30 days, I made a commitment to sit, to find a time, to find a half an hour and be with the visioning process. And every day when I got done, I'd take a quick snap on my phone and text it over to him. And it was in there that I found the seeds of what we're still creating today through New Thought Media Network.
Yeah.
It was in that deep commitment to the basics of our spiritual practices that we teach in New Thought, where I refound, where I heard the calling again. And
that's
so
exciting.
when the pandemic hit, it was sort of like, okay, I got this blueprint sitting right here in this book. I've just been given everything I'm going to need, except the money maybe, but I've been given everything I'm going to need intellectually to weather this storm.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts. That's how we got it moving. And
that's exciting. I know for me, having worked in Unity and in CSL and in the Universal Foundation for Better Living, that I had this idea, and I think that was around the time you and I met, of this New Thought Bridge, that why we're all having separate offices and separate staff and all these things, when in fact we're all doing the same thing. Why not find a way of collaborating to expand what we do in the world at large?
Yep, exactly.
And that's what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes. And that is where the idea to step beyond just CSL.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I was what many would call a real loyalist to what CSL was doing and creating, and they could do no wrong, and it was never, and there in that in between, right before the pandemic, is where I also heard it's bigger than any one organization.
And that's the truth.
And that's why we're the New Thought Media Network and not the CSL Media Network.
Exactly. Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Now, interestingly, here we are 6 years down the road, and Unity Village has become the center of the New Thought universe. Science of Mind Archives has moved there. The Addington Archives has moved there. There are other archival organizations that are moving there. Emerson Theological Institute is looking at moving our corporate offices there from California to Unity Village.
I love it.
I get to spend, I had never been there until 2022, and now I'm there 3-4 times a year for various projects or retreats. And we have an organization or an initiative now called An Awakened Path. And the website for that is exactly like it sounds, folks, anawakenedpath.com. And this is an initiative between the leadership of the affiliated New Thought Network, Unity, and CSL to help create a more public image and platform where you can find a wealth of different organizations, and where you can access the New Thought idea beyond a church denomination, if you will.
Right.
And one of the things I've been talking about for a number of years now is that as a movement, we have to break down the false belief in denominationalism.
Yeah.
That
we do.
Somehow Unity or CSL or Divine Science is better than any of the others. And another dear friend, Dr. Tim Stewart, explained it to me once that for most people, when you find New Thought, whether you find Unity or CSL or Divine Science, when you find New Thought, it's usually groundbreaking. It's usually shifts everything. It changes your life, and
Yeah,
you have no need to go further. So if you've
that's
been a
right.
seeker, or you've been feeling abused or traumatized by an organized religion, and you step into a New Thought community, doesn't matter which one you find first, it's usually, for most people, the end of the road, because there's no need to keep going and keep looking. It is so transformative.
It's quite remarkable when it happens, actually. I remember when it happened for me, and walking into a place that was simply love, like just accepted and honored for just being.
For just
Didn't
being.
have to do anything. Yeah.
And in that, oftentimes people are exposed to, oh well, there's this church down the road, they're kind of like us, but they're not as good as we are. Oh, there's this other organization, they're all right, but they're not as good as we are.
We're the best.
Exactly. And that, so unconsciously, I don't think anybody ever set out to do this, but we created a system of denominationalism within New Thought.
Mhm.
But once you step beyond the boundary of your home, and I liken it to high school and college now.
Mhm.
The place you find yourself is high school. Good friends, good parties, lots of classes, lots of things to
Yep.
do, and most people stay close to high school. But
That's
for
true.
a handful,
Very true.
we go on to college. When you
Yeah.
go into college, you start to realize that those guys from the other side of town aren't really all that different. And that we're not really all that much better than they are. And these other folks are pretty cool too, and fun to hang out with. And for me, stepping beyond that boundary into the greater New Thought world just showed me how many more people there are that get it,
Yes.
that are
Yeah.
using this stuff, that are creating organizations and businesses and ministries and families and communities. Yeah, we all, some of us talk a little different. Some of us have a little different accent. You can get the Jersey to come out and me once in a while. And, but we're all working towards that same end
Yeah.
vision of a deeply we are one.
I think that for me has always been sort of the attracting force of this teaching, is that we are one. And that holds a really powerful energy, to just sit and imagine that there is no difference between you and I. There is no separation between you and I, even though it looks like we live miles apart. But that's merely the human experience. It's not the truth of that essence of us that is so ingrained that we, in fact, are one, just like all animal life, plant life, everything. There's only one thing going on.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
love that.
There is no separation, but I have to be really truthful today.
Yeah.
Go Knicks. Like, we're all the same, but the Knicks.
But I want the Knicks to win.
And everybody wants to. Anybody's still rooting for San Antonio. Hey, come on, get on board with what's going on here. Go Knicks.
I heard about that last shot in, was it last night's game?
Oh, yeah.
That last sort of hurrah at the end with the seconds, and boom, there it was, the win.
And that is like, I think part of it, I saw one, I'm a big Jon Stewart fan. Jon Stewart showed a clip on Monday night of somebody being like, saying, a sportscaster saying, the last time the Knicks were in the playoff, Nixon was in office. And John was like, hey, come on, you didn't have to rub it in. But
I like Jon Stewart.
They represent that underdog spirit. They represent that spirit that no matter what, you can't keep us down.
Yeah.
If we make a commitment as humans, if we make a commitment to a goal and we keep going at it and keep going at it, and the Knicks were 29 points down.
I know, my husband was telling me.
Almost every other team in the league would be taking off their sneakers and getting ready to get to the
Go
shop.
home.
And
Yep.
I've been watching clips of different sportscasters in
Yeah.
those last 5 seconds as they go from being 3 points down to winning and the missed 3-point shot that leads to the tip in, and suddenly they're up by 1, and all of this. That type of deficit, we don't see that type of comeback. And I think everyone relates to it because we've all been knocked down at some point.
Boy, have we ever.
Only thing that keeps us down is if we're not willing to get back up and go at it again and keep going and keep going. And that's the New Thought promise to me, that we are one, and anything is figure outable. Anything, we can accomplish anything when we put the power of our mind to it.
Well, that's the key. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in what the world says, or what our friends say, or what our neighbor says, or what our parents say, that we're not actually paying attention to what that inner wisdom in us is saying. We've ignored it, and we need to listen to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your neighbor doesn't know you.
If I listened to the critics, I'd probably still be out in the garage playing the role of a stoner.
There you go.
But if I listened to the critics, I'd still be driving for Uber. And if I listen to my own inner critic, I'd give up almost any given night of the week. I'd say, okay, that's enough. I'm going back to sales job or something. So and we have to, I believe, train ourselves, believe in ourselves, and train ourselves to believe in ourselves. That there is a power for good, and we can use that.
And I think we are using it. It's just we're using it unconsciously and creating disasters around us rather than using it consciously and creating harmony and maybe peace and joy and some good stuff. We're creating chaos with it.
Yep. True.
And it's just
Let's create more joy.
We could create more joy.
We can create more joy.
Just like this show, just one you, when you come to understand that you're the only person who can do exactly what you do in the way that you do it, and that you are essential. Yes. You are an essential service to the universe at this time. Yep. If we all understood that about ourselves, we would stop competing, criticizing, judging, trying to measure up to someone else. Mm-hmm. We would be satisfied with the life we were living.
Yep.
I wonder if we'll ever get there. Food for thought.
I will say we are there, because your show here represents that. And from the very first time you came to me and said, hey, I got an idea. I want to call it the Joy Show, and it stands for just one you. And I love it, because it does represent exactly what you're saying. Who you are, every single person on this planet, who you are is vital to the evolution of human consciousness.
Absolutely.
In all of the world, no one does it the way you do. The gifts you bring, the talents you have, the skills you use, the way you show up is completely unique amongst these 8 billion different humans that are on the planet. Yeah. And no one can do it the way you're doing it. So
exactly,
if you don't do what you're here to do, the world as a whole is a lesser place.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And it takes longer for humanity to evolve into our greatness, into our life-givingness.
Yeah.
So we spread more joy.
We spread more joy. I think for me, I don't even remember how long ago I started this show. It's been a long time. And I don't even remember how I found you or where we got connected. It's like we just did, and I'm so grateful. I'm like, and I'm one of those people who just says yes. I just say yes to whatever. And I'm finding more and more that people around me are saying yes to me as well. So it must be contagious. You know,
Yeah.
I said to somebody shortly after the major part of the COVID epidemic or pandemic to sit back and go, let's create a love pandemic. Like let's start doing things. Let's make this spread rampantly like COVID did. And I think we'd be light years ahead if that were to happen.
When I was a kid, I don't know that I can remember a time where I heard my father tell another man, I love you.
Yes. Yeah.
Where you would say that to anybody outside your immediate family. That you would
Oh, yeah. No.
you could say that to another woman than your spouse or your mother, right?
Yep.
And now, in my life at least, it's common.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't end a call with a friend without saying I love you.
Yeah, me
Without
too.
letting them know that I really love who you are. And I love
Yeah.
being in a friendship with you. It doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to be romantic. It is a
Yeah.
greater, higher love that
It
we
is.
can have. And so we are creating a global movement, a
We
global,
are.
I avoid the word pandemic, but we're creating a global love virus, a love bomb
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is so much
Love bomb,
more
yeah.
than the old style of hate and judgment and fear around the
Yeah.
people around
Oh,
us.
fear. Yeah. I was talking to somebody earlier today about, you know, as a woman, it's very different in the world than being a man. But I tell men that I do not know, that I have never met, uh, when I meet them and we have an exchange, I will say, I love you to those men.
Right.
But I said, the interesting thing is that there's inside all of us, there is that deep intuition that knows what's safe and what isn't.
Yes.
And if we learn to listen to it, it is safe to do that.
Right.
Because I wouldn't do it everywhere. My husband hears me doing it all the time. It doesn't bother him in the least because he knows what it is. And it's that for me, it's I see you, I receive you, I acknowledge you. That's what love means to me is I accept you right where you are, as you are. And I love that. It's like such a beautiful thing. And I tell people all the time, and people go, oh, you got to be careful about that. And I went, no. The day I have to start being careful about love is the day I'm ready to be put in the ground. Don't, no,
Yep.
not going there.
Exactly. You remind me of an experience. A couple years back now, my wife and I were at a conference, and a mutual friend type colleague type friend, and this woman walked up, and we're huggers in this movement, right? Go to give a hug, and I walk up to give her a hug, and she kisses me right on the lips.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I have lots of people kiss me on the lips.
wow, okay, I wasn't anticipating that. Cheeks, yeah, or, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And so later in the day, I had reconnected with my wife, and I said, I had the most amazing experience happen. And I said, so-and-so came up and gave me a kiss right on the lips. My wife looks at me, she goes, you too? She did that to me too. And I was like, okay, right on. Again,
Yeah.
it's that sense of our oneness.
Yes, yes.
It says, I was introduced to the term of namaste a long, long time ago. The Christ
Yeah,
in
me
me
too.
sees and recognizes the Christ in you. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, what's so wrong about a little kiss on the lips between the one, within the one, between
Yeah,
God and
nothing.
God, between everything?
Yeah.
And I do believe we're building a culture and a consciousness of that type of unconditional loving oneness.
Yeah, it's a case of acceptance and honor and respect. It isn't romantic. It's simply the energy that I felt when I had my epiphany moment and knew God as love. When that moment hit me, that's how I describe love now. I mean, I love my husband, I love my children. That's different, although this is part of it, but there's also that romantic with my husband. There's this deep connection with my children that might be a little bit different, but my acceptance of humanity as it is where it is, it doesn't have to show up pretty. It doesn't have to show up perfect. It's like, I'm willing to meet you where you are. That to me is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like how you do it, even if I don't
Yeah.
like your politics, even if I don't like how you voted or what color hat you're
Yeah.
wearing,
Yeah.
I have love for the fact that you're on the planet.
Exactly. And what I believe happens is that, as I love openly, honestly, and accepting, there is a healing that occurs for everyone, myself included. So it's like every time I can love somebody without judgment or criticism, just to love, then all of a sudden there is something where all of a sudden they start showing up in a different way. Like everything heals as a result of that energy. Now we're down to our last 4 minutes, if you can believe it. Time flies on this show.
If you want some extra time, I know somebody that can approve that.
Oh, yeah, I think you do. That's too funny. I love that. Well, what I like to do to end the show is, what is the most important takeaway you think from this show today? What would you like people to take away from this show?
Oh, wow. I said it in passing, and it's something that I borrowed from a woman named Marie Forleo.
Okay.
Everything is figure outable.
Everything is figure outable. I like that.
And if we come from love,
Yeah.
if we come from a recognition that deeply we are one,
Yeah.
it does not matter what is before us, what trauma we've experienced, what abuse we may have traversed or endured. If
Doesn't
we
matter.
come to life with a deep sense of our oneness and a deep commitment to unconditional love, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean being a doormat.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And it doesn't mean allowing someone to continue an abusive experience or behavior. But
Yeah.
if we can truly come to life from that place of deep oneness and unconditional love, then everything is figure outable.
Everything is. Yeah, I love that. And what I love too is that for each one of us, we have the love has to start right here. I have to love me enough that I can stand in love with a person who's in pain.
Yep.
And that's the thing. So, and then, yes, it is very figure outable. What a great word, figure outable.
Ricky Byers' song. There's a Ricky Byers song. I love myself so much
So much
that
that
I
I
can
could
love
love you so much.
that you can love you so much
You so much
that you
that
can
you
start
are
loving me.
loving me.
And that type
Yes, that is a great song.
recognition that it starts with me, but I can't let it end
Yeah,
with me. I love
exactly. It is reciprocal.
Yep. That's how we change the world, folks. That's how we create
Yeah,
a world that works for all.
yeah, it is. It is. It really is. I love myself so much that I could love you so much, that you could love you so much, that you could start loving me. We create the whole cycle. I love that song. It's so good. It's so good. Ricky sings it a little better than I do, but that's because that's what she does. She sings and writes music.
She has a little
It's
more
amazing.
practice at it than we do, yes.
She definitely had more time. Robert, thank you so much for being on the show. I am so grateful for you, for this network, for all that you do and all that you have been doing. And I'm so darn excited for your success these last 6 months. You've worked at this and you're doing wonderful. And I'm just so elated for you. And I know all good is coming your way always. So bless you, my dear friend. I love you dearly. And I'm so incredibly grateful for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a blessing. Well, everybody, this is it for this week on The Joy Show. Please be sure to come back next week. We'll do it all over again with a different guest. And by the way, like, share, subscribe, and go to ntmedia.org and hit that donate link. Let's make sure that all this great content, this show and all the other shows, just keep on happening. That radio station that we talked about, let that music be your guide through your day. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.